Welcome to the Urban Angle. Your city, your fish, your experience. With your host, David Kearney. Join us as we explore the opportunities, obstacles, and rewards urban fishing has to offer. And now your host, David Kearney.
Hey folks, thanks for joining us here on the Urban Angle. We have a really cool show for you this week with our special guest Mike Morazzini from Anglers Music. We will hear more about Anglers Music when Mike joins us in a bit, but first, I wanted to take a couple minutes to tell you about a fantastic organization called the Toronto Urban Fishing Ambassadors, or simply put, TUFA. TUFA is comprised of a dedicated group of men and women, young and old alike, who have a passion for fishing and the urban angle. TUFA works hard to protect anglers' continued access to Toronto's waterways, shorelines, ponds, and creeks, and demonstrates their support for conservation by leading by example as stewards for the environment. They do their utmost to inform and encourage all to experience the world-class fishing Toronto has to offer. And I tell you, it is truly world-class. TUFA also offers and supports many programs and events throughout the year here in the Greater Toronto Area. Programs that promote and spotlight urban angling and inspire conversation. Our city's public lands exist for everyone's enjoyment, and TUFA is at the forefront of making sure that that continues to take place. I just want to put in a personal note that I'm truly honored to be a part of this fantastic organization, and I look forward to many more years of great programs and events from TUFA in the Toronto area. Look them up today by visiting their website at torontourbanfishing.com and join the conversation on Facebook at /Toronto Urban Fishing Ambassadors. You'll be hearing more about the Toronto Urban Fishing Ambassadors and the great work they do on our upcoming episodes.
I'm a big fisherman. Let me ask you, are you a big fisherman?
Hell yeah, fool.
Then let's get together and begin casting them lures into the wind, lures into the wind. Ooh, I got this
Okay.
urge. I feel it in my
So time is short and I'm excited to get right to it. If you've never heard of Mike Morazzini or Anglers Music, that's all about to change. Please welcome to the show to tell us about his urban angle from Anglers Music, Mike Morazzini. Welcome to the show, Mike. I'm really excited to talk to you and to learn more about you and the music you make. So why don't you start by telling us how it all began for you?
So are we on now? Are we good?
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, well, we're going.
So I learned, I started fishing when I was a young kid. My dad was very into freshwater fishing. He grew up in a town that was not right on the shoreline, but a little bit inland of the shoreline from where I live, and he did a lot of freshwater fishing. He did little local tournaments and stuff like that. So he really tried to push me into freshwater fishing. It would take me, just fishing for largemouth bass like any other kid.
Mm-hmm.
But I actually grew up on Long Island Sound, which is basically an estuary, right inside of Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
Grew up in Milford, Connecticut. That's where I still live now. I grew up right up the street from the beach, so I would consider myself very lucky as a kid. Even though my dad was trying to get me into freshwater, my uncle was, he was a big saltwater guy, and he always fished for striped bass and bluefish right along the shoreline. So it was so easy for my friends and I to just go right down to the beach because it was just a walk for us, which, like I said, I'm very lucky for. And we just go down to the beach and, we just fish off the piers. My primary, focus growing up was always saltwater fishing because I lived so close in proximity to the water. That's where I would mostly fish. But actually, as I got older, I started doing more freshwater too and kind of mixing it up. So
I've seen a ton of your videos on YouTube, Mike, and I've noticed that you do a lot of fishing from your boat. How big of a role would you say shoreline fishing plays for you?
Oh, shoreline fishing is a huge part. I mean, surf casting and surf fishing is, in waders is a huge thing that I do around where I live because, number one, it's just a rush of getting, catching a fish off the beach, but also growing up, was the main thing that I did, was fish off piers and beaches and stuff like that. We also have a river in Connecticut called the Housatonic River, and there's a huge migration of striped bass out of the river, and some striped bass come up and overwinter there. And as the striped bass spill out of the river in the early spring, we have this spot called the Bird Sanctuary. It's an Audubon Center. You walk out on this huge bar, and it's just like a highway for striped bass in the spring, and it's a great spot to fish right off the beach,
So there's a great opportunity for anyone to get out and fish.
Oh, yeah.
Mike, we can get some monster pike here in the city, and they're one of my favorite fishes to catch. What's one of your favorite fishes to catch there in Connecticut?
Favorite fish is definitely the striped bass.
They give you the most fight for the
That's
buck?
hands down. I think it's a little bit of just always growing up, and that was just my favorite fish growing up, and it was always just such a thrill and excitement to try to catch a striper, because around here we have other species that are a little bit easier, if you want to say easier to catch, like bluefish, but striped bass have just always been just my favorite fish of all time. And they're very similar to largemouth, but like in their behavior, they get big. The world record was caught a few years ago right in Long Island Sound, probably 20 miles from where I live, an 84-pound striped bass. So it's
Wow.
pretty, yeah. And I think it's crazy how the world record was caught right in the waters. Like, could have been swimming right where I fish.
Could have been you.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll be right back with more Urban Angle.
Kitefish quality flies are hand-tied to perfection. Visit us at www.kitefish.com for our complete line of products, including flies, beads, and promotional offers at fantastic prices. Use the code RADIO1 to get free shipping and no tax on your next order. That's www.kypefish.com.
Looking for a secure, rugged, and portable solution for your outdoor storage or transportation needs? StoreStack has your solution.
StoreStack!
You dream it, they build it. StoreStack is custom shipping container modification and portable building fabrication. Think StoreStack for all your fishing, hunting, and outdoor storage and transportation needs. Visit us at storestack.com. That's STORSTAC.com.
StoreStack!
Welcome back to the Urban Angle.
Yeah.
Besides fishing and your music, Mike, what is it that you do for a living?
I'm a high school biology teacher, and I've been at the school where I work for 10 years. I actually organized about 6 years ago a fishing club at our school. We're called the Law Anglers. That's kind of the organization that I would say I'm into and, promote is our school, high school fishing club, which is great.
So you have an opportunity then to pass on your passion for the sport to other young anglers now.
Oh yeah. And, we've done everything from fishing local reservoirs where we have to get special permits for, which they're very, we're grateful that they grant us the permits to fish some of these places, but also just around the Long Island Sound shorelines, saltwater. So we do salt and fresh. We've built fishing lures. We've done rod building. We do, little different workshops in the winter to just try to learn about different fishing tactics. So it's kind of cool.
Oh, very good. Keep the information flowing and the kids happy.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a rapper. You rap about fishing. You have a whole album out now.
I do.
When I stumbled upon this, I tell you, Mike, a breath of fresh air. Fishing music is usually a very hokey, a very country twangy situation.
Yeah.
And it's not for me, because I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and I was listening to like Beastie Boys and Run DMC and Public Enemy. And that other music, any song about fishing, was not going to do it for me. And then I heard your stuff, and I was like, wow, like this is really good.
Thank you.
The beats are phenomenal. Like, your lyrics just flow. Like, how did this come about?
So, when I was growing up, I listened to all different types of music. I mean, the first CD I probably listened to was Billy Ray Cyrus. Like, it's just a country. I probably started listening to country, and then I got into this big heavy metal kick in middle school and early high school. But then I think it was right around when I was a freshman in high school. Some of my friends were listening to Tupac. I heard a little bit of some Tupac CDs, and I really started getting into rap and just loving it, just loving the style of music. This was about the late 90s then when I was in high school. So I listened to Tupac, I listened to some early Eminem stuff, and I just started really getting into it. And it was to the point where I just wanted to do it. It wasn't just that I wanted to listen to it, but for some reason I wanted to write about it, and I just felt like I wanted to rap too. Mm-hmm. I don't know, when I grew up, my grandpa was a big doo-wop singer in New Haven, and he had a group called The Academics, and I would sit there in the kitchen, and they would just stand in a circle, and they would sing, and it was just so cool to me. So this was my style, and this is what I wanted to do, so I started just writing. But the one thing that stood out was I could never write about anything that wasn't me. I couldn't pretend to write about, what Tupac's writing about or Eminem or anything like that, because that was, just not anything like my own life.
So you'd have to write about your own experiences then.
Exactly. So I enjoyed the way the rhythm, I enjoyed the flow, the poetry. So I just started writing, at the time, the internet wasn't as accessible as it is today, where you could just download beats and purchase beats and everything else. I was able to download a few instrumentals from real songs. Like, I remember one of them was a Wu-Tang song, Cream, I think. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar, dollar bill, y'all. Flip that line, and I wrote a whole song about fishing to it, and it was like, fish school circling around me. Quick, drop the line down. Set the hook, y'all. So I wrote this song based on that, and I wrote a couple others, and just wrote all these lyrics, and then I would play them for my family, and they thought that they were funny. They thought it was hilarious. So then I said, you know what? Let me try to get some of my own beats and really actually make a few songs. So that's what I did. So I basically was able to get instrumentals and purchase some beats from producers on the internet, and I basically just made a few really early fishing songs, and put together, like, if you want to call it a mixtape. And I made copies, and my uncle was really big with promoting my stuff. He loved it. He thought it was great. He thought it was funny, but he thought it was good. So he would play it for everyone, and he did a lot of tournaments, shark fishing off of Montauk. Mm-hmm. So they do these big shark tournaments every year, and they would play my music at the dock on their boat while everyone was, hanging out after a long day of fishing. They were weighing in fish, and people would walk by and be like, what is that? And they were telling me, like, a couple years in a row that people loved it. So I made a bunch of copies, and they were giving them out on the dock. I think it was a few years later, actually, when I was in college, that some guy approached me who I had no idea who he was, and he just came up to me and was like, I'm still listening to your CD every day. He's like, I love it. He was telling me about how he spread it around to different people, and they all love it. And I said, you know what? I was like, let me actually get serious about this, and let me make an album. Part of my goal was to be on a fishing show, because growing up, that's what I watched every Saturday morning. I used to watch all these shows on ESPN, back when they were actually on ESPN. I used to love, my favorite fishing show of all time was Jose Wejebe, who passed away, but he had the show The Spanish Fly down in the Florida Keys. But anyway, I loved all these fishing shows, and I was thinking my music would be so perfect for one of these shows, because these guys are coming out, they make this big production, and they just have some random song in the beginning. And I'm like, no one has songs like this. So I got the money together, and I recorded it in the city of New Haven. And from there on, released it, and I've been selling it ever since, called Angler Talk. So that was my first album.
Fish falls, my mind wanders off, and I often ponder what's the true proportion of monsters beneath my hull of all these exhausted waters. I think and dunk all day fishing with my father.
Interactive, educational, and inspirational is what Fishing Frenzy is all about. We have developed a school program based off the outdoor curriculum to cater to the learning abilities of all elementary school grades. Our school program is about teaching the next generation about ethical fishing and protecting our environment in a positive way. Visit www.fishingfrenzy.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. That's Fishing Frenzy, friend with a ZY.
Castle Rock Outdoor Marketing. We're here to help put your business on the map. At Castle Rock, we specialize in marketing for outdoor companies. No company is too big or too small for Castle Rock Outdoors Marketing. Contact us at castlerockoutdoors@gmail.com. Find Castle Rock Outdoors on Facebook and on Twitter at Castle Rock Media. Castle Rock Outdoor Marketing.
Kitefish quality flies are hand-tied to perfection. Visit us at www.kitefish.com for our complete line of products, including flies, beads, and promotional offers at fantastic prices. Use the code RADIO1 to get free shipping and no tax on your next order. That's www.kypefish.com.
Blue Fish Stewardship Tips.
And now here's Lawrence Gunther with another Blue Fish Stewardship Tip.
I'm Lawrence Gunther, and this is another Blue Fish Canada Stewardship Tip. Catching and releasing fish is a great practice. I'm not against harvesting the odd fish, and, there's some bodies of water where there should be fish harvested. Otherwise, you end up in a situation where you have stunted fish growth. Too many fish trying to chase down too little food, and nothing grows. You see these fish, they have big heads, skinny bodies. It's not pleasant looking. Catch and release, especially around large urban centers where there's more fishing pressure. That means using barbless hooks, single hooks, round hook, but you don't have to catch every fish and bring it into the boat. It's okay if they shake off besides the boat. There's nothing the matter with a long line release. You had your fun. If the fish shakes off on a barbless hook, it's easier on the fish. It's easier on everybody. Remember, for the latest stewardship news, listen to Blue Fish Radio.
I'm gonna bomb him with the hook set the hook hard. Bomb him with the hook set. Rip lips, baby. Bomb him with the hook set. Show him who's boss. Bomb him with the hook. Bomb him with the hook set.
So Mike, where do your influences stem from for your album?
My CD, my first album, Angler Talk, it really has a saltwater pull to it because, that was me growing up. And at that time, I would say was my ultimate peak of just hardcore saltwater fishing was in college. And I'm not saying it's not now, but the amount of time spent on the water was just way more than I can even do today because now I have 2 kids and, my full-time job and everything else.
Yeah,
but
it's tough.
But when I was making that album, I was just hardcore fishing all the time, every couple days, big trips and all that stuff and catching a lot of really big fish. And I was really pulled toward the fish I was catching. But in the meantime, I made a great connection with Mike Morazzini, who I'm sure you know, right?
Yes.
Yep, so I made a great connection with him. I fished with him up on a lake in my area. I made another connection with this guy, Randy, who developed this thing called Hat Cam, and he had a connection with Ike, too. Randy really introduced me into, it just kind of got me back into fresh water from where I was, because I had not fished it as commonly, like I said, ever since growing up. Like, I would go here and there with my dad. My dad is just awesome with fresh, I have such respect for his freshwater fishing, ability. But, so then I started getting really into it again, and then I started saying, well, a lot of these people, and this is the weird thing to me, a lot of these people who are buying my CD are from places that are not even near saltwater. Michigan, there's all these other places, people who are buying my CDs, and I'm like, these people are bass fishing, pike, trout, salmon, all this other stuff. And I'm like, let me start catering my songs a little bit to some of this stuff, especially because I'm really getting more into it now. Like, I've been fishing a lot more. My boat's a perfect size to trailer. I've been trailing it more to freshwater lakes around. So, my new album is more about the love for fishing in general, and I'm trying to be all-encompassing of the type of fishing I like. So
this is all fantastic stuff, Mike. So what do we have to look forward to? What are you bringing us next?
So what I'm doing now, and this is the thing with iTunes, is it kind of affords you this ability. I think the way I'm thinking about it now is instead of just trying to compile 10 to 12 tracks and wait a couple years to just release all these tracks, because I don't know when I'll actually have all 10 or all 12, if that's my goal. So I released 3 new tracks recently, and those are going to be part of the new album, but I'm already releasing them. I think I'm going to try to just release them as they come. I have another one that's halfway written. I'm really trying to just get a good feel for this song, but it's called She's Gone, and it's about an experience I had offshore with a thresher shark a few years ago. I fought a shark for 4 hours.
Wow.
The most incredible experience I've ever had. And that we ended up, it just totally beat me down, and I lost it, and it was a horrible feeling. We spent the entire charter trip of fighting this one fish. It was the craziest, the most wild experience. So I'm trying to write a song about that now, and I have the beat, I have a couple of the verses written, I have the chorus, I just have a couple more verses to go, and then I'm going to release that. So I think I'm just going to release them as they come, and then probably when I have them all compiled, I'll compile them into an album, and that will be like my second album.
I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, thanks.
And what's your next fishing trip coming up, Mike?
Next trip is basically there's the Connecticut River, which is I think the largest river in our state that flows into an area of the town called right in Old Saybrook, and right outside of there's some great runs of striped bass, and there's a lot of bunker around. So I'm going to try to take the boat up there and do some night fishing with eels or live bunker, and see what I can pull out. That right around the area where that world record was caught too.
Trying to go for another one.
Yeah. So if I get anything, I'll be happy. If I catch one over 30 pounds, I'll be really happy, which is nice fish. So. My biggest so far is a 40 pounds for a striped bass. So
that's freaking awesome, Mike. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I wanted to thank you for joining us on the Urban Angle. I'm really looking forward to what you have coming out next. Your beats flow like mad, man. I really respect that. So thanks for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me, Toronto Fishing Ambassadors. Your organization sounds fantastic, and I'm privileged to be on. Mike Morazzini, anglersmusic.com. Thank you so much.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Mike.
Awesome. Thank you.
Not too high, never too low. Gotta stay focused. Ain't going home till there's lips on my thumb. Not too high, not too low. Gotta stay focused, go with your gut. Ain't going home till there's lips on my thumb. Ain't going home till those lips hit my thumb. Big bass.
Lake Ontario Waterkeepers is a Canadian charity working for a day when every person in our watershed can safely touch the water. A day when the water is pure enough to drink, and when the lake is clean and wild enough that you can toss a line in anywhere and pull out a fish. They help to create a swimmable, drinkable, fishable future by connecting and empowering people in order to stop pollution, protect human health, and restore habitat. Lake Ontario Waterkeepers' job is to help communities protect swimmable, drinkable, fishable water. They educate and support individuals and organizations working for a cleaner tomorrow. Stay up to date for all things swim, drink, fish related. Visit Lake Ontario Waterkeepers at waterkeepers.ca.
If you like the show you're listening to right now, you can listen to it and many more just like it on Reno Viola Outdoors Radio. Fishing, hunting, boating, and the rest of the great outdoors 24/7, 365 on Reno Viola Outdoors Radio. Download the free Reno Viola Outdoors Radio app or visit WRVOradio.com online to see the lineup and schedule. That's Reno Viola Outdoors Radio, and enjoy the great outdoors.
I want to thank Mike Morazzini for joining us this week on The Urban Angle. We look forward to more from this talented young man. Thanks to Jeff Doner, my sound engineer, and thanks to Josie Dakers for all your support. And a big thank you to our listeners. We want to hear about your urban angle. Drop us a line at theurbanangle.radioshow@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook at /theurbanangle. And follow us on Twitter at theurbanangle. Join us on our next show when we will be talking to Lawrence Gunther from Blue Fish Radio. Thanks for listening.